Hi guys, this is a very spontaneous video. Decided now just to do it because I feel like I've slacked off for sure. I've had a lot of interruptions this year to do with school, to do with travel and all that, but I do want to get back on track. So I'm going to document all of my workouts throughout this week. Keep in mind that last video of my upper body routine was 9 months ago. Since then, I've changed my split, so it's going to sound a little different. Hopefully this can be a more in-depth video. I will put all of my routines, all of the exercises and sets and reps and all like extra notes, as well as what I do on rest days and all that. I'll admit I've been eating kind of shit and haven't been really consistent. So if I look worse than I did in the last video, so this is my split so far. I have 5 days in the gym, 2 rest days, but on those rest days I want to go to Hurstville Oval and try to work on athleticism sort of things, as well as swimming, just for a little bit of cardio because I hate cardio. Since the last time I posted my routine, back then I was doing push-pull legs, upper lower. Now I'm doing 3 leg days and 2 upper body days a week because my legs have always been a weak spot in terms of size. Also because it will probably help me more in volleyball now that I'm back playing again. I haven't actually made a routine for what I'm going to do at the track or in the pool. I probably don't trust that routine that much because I'm definitely very new to it. I'm just doing what research says is probably good, what people on Instagram say is probably good, trying to hit sort of all of the different areas. The one issue I have with this is that I don't have a way to track my progress, like my speed, my vertical jump, whatever. I'm going to try to test that as soon as possible. Maybe I'll come back in like a month or 2 or 3, make another video and see how far I've progressed with this certain routine. My gym routines are pretty solid. I've been doing that for a while now. Tomorrow's Sunday. I consider the start of the week and I will go through the next 7 days. Okay, so today is quad explosive BM power. I'll start with hip mobility and core stability warm-up. Physio gave me the exercises, so I'm just gonna keep doing that. We'll do like the big power movements first because they require the most energy. I don't know, some people like to leave the more tiring exercises to the end, but I like to do them first, and then we'll move on to like quad isolation exercises or whatever. Okay, so this is just a low effort warm-up for my hips and core, just to try to prevent injury a little bit. The first part is mostly just stretching out my hips, I guess a little bit of hamstrings as well or whatnot, but it's mainly to stretch out my hips and strengthen them a little bit. To be honest, I probably need to update this routine soon. I've been doing this for a couple of years just from things I've seen online and what my physio has been telling me to do, so yeah. I reckon strengthening your hips and core before any leg day, or actually any workout before playing any sport, is really helpful in preventing injury, making sure you engage your core subconsciously while you're playing or whatever. So I do this before volleyball as well for that reason. I end it with weighted Cossack squats just because my ankle flexibility is pretty bad and I want to strengthen my hips in that position. Okay, first exercise of the actual workout is RDLs. This is one of the only 2 exercises I use straps for, just so I don't have to worry about holding the weight instead of moving it. I don't know if you can see it here, but I try to go slower when I lower it down and faster on the way up. I think my form is alright. I sort of lean back into it. My main issue is core engagement, so if you have any tips, please let me know. I do that for 3 sets and they usually go between 6 to 8 reps. For the second exercise, I am doing quarter squats, so I just set the safeties pretty high and I obviously don't go that deep into the squat. I'm mainly focused on lifting heavy, lifting fast in this movement. I think I'm a pretty big advocate for train your legs like an athlete and train your upper body like a bodybuilder. Obviously, the main reason for that is that it will help me in sport, but also I just think it's really cool how big of a muscle your quads and your hamstrings are, and it's insane how much power you can get out of them. So I kind of want to push that and see how far I can go with it, if that makes sense. Personally, it's also a lot more fun to train, so I will stay more consistent with it than if I was only going to train like a bodybuilder for my lower body, but it's really up to you. Anyhow, next I do these trap bar jumps. I keep it at a weight where it's not so heavy that it produces too much force on landing, so I don't injure myself, but also heavy enough so that I am forced to push off with as much energy as I can. I forgot to mention for the quarter squats, I do the same amount of sets and reps as RDLs, and for those jumps, I just do 3 or 4 sets of 6. The last exercise on this routine is leg extensions. I pick about the heaviest weight I can go for about 10 reps, and then I do 2 drop sets after that. Side note, ignore the faces I'm making while I'm doing them. Anyhow, there are only 4 exercises in this routine, which seems like not a lot, but they do take a lot of energy. 3 out of 4 of them are very powerful sort of movements, and they both take a long time to set up and do, and I require a little more rest between them. I think I always complain about having small quads, but this is probably why this is like the only quad isolation exercise I do. Other than that, I'm focused on lifting heavy and more focused on my posterior chain than my quads. Anyhow, after that last exercise, that is the end of the routine. There is a little check for my quads, and we'll move on to tomorrow. Guys, I'm editing now, and I've changed my mind. I'm actually only going to show you my 5 gym routines for this week, not like the track stuff yet, because it's just like really underdeveloped. Today is shoulders and arms and a little bit of back. So as usual, I start with the bigger muscles first and then the smaller ones. For my sort of warm-up, I start with pull-ups, just as many as I can do, or I try to go for at least 5 or 6. I'm not gonna lie, ever since I learned to do pull-ups in like year 10, I've just been stuck at a max like 6 to 8 pull-ups all the time. It's probably my fault, and I'll get back to working on that. In fact, I'm trying to get a muscle up this year, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, first exercise I start with is overhead press. I don't do this with a barbell just because I am too freaking lazy to set it up. The problem with doing it with these sorts of, what do I even call this sort of thing, is that it only goes up by like 5 kilograms, which is a big jump for shoulders. Luckily for now, I've been stuck on 35 kilos for 6 to 8 reps for a while, but if I start getting 8+ reps regularly, then I'll probably move to barbells. I only do this for 2 sets. I'm not sure why I do less sets for my upper body and more for my legs, actually. I guess it's because I'm training my upper body to build muscle, so it shouldn't really take more than 2 sets to, break that muscle. Because I sort of either go to failure or 1 rep in reserve for every set. So a 3rd set would just be doing too much. There's no point. It would just mean I would need more time for recovery, which is useless. Whereas for legs, I'm doing sort of more power movements. So less reps, more sets sort of makes sense. And this exercise, credits to Oscar for introducing me to this because I just added it to my routine. Kelso shrugs. So basically like a row without bending your arms. So it's only working your back, because the movement of bending your arms in a row, it doesn't really do much for your back. So I do that also for 2 sets between 6 to 8 reps at some heavy weight. Then I move on to tricep rope push downs, which is very classic. Everybody's done it before. I'm not sure if anybody still has this in their routine, but I do. I do 1 normal set to 12, where that's sort of like I have 1 rep in reserve and I get 12 reps. And then I do a set to failure and a drop set after that. And then I go over to free weights and do hammer curls. I am not a big fan of this exercise. It just doesn't feel very nice. So I do 1 set to failure, 1 drop set, and that's it. Because I've been doing only 2 upper body days per week for a while, I haven't really been focused as much on arms because the physique I want requires me to sort of put more emphasis on a big back, big shoulders. So I've been putting less emphasis on arms for a long time actually. Don't think I have since like year 9, but I'm totally okay with it. I don't really find big biceps and big triceps that big of a deal for me personally. It's not a main goal for me, and especially since I have long biceps, there's sort of no hope in saving that. After that, while I'm still there, I do lateral raises with dumbbells. I used to do it with cables, and I found that it didn't feel as good for me, so I changed to dumbbells. I do both arms at a time. Some people like to do 1. I do a heavier weight for 15 reps, and this is a set number, 15, because I know that by the end of the 15, my form will actually have completely broken down. I know that it's past my sort of failure. So anyhow, I do heavier weight for 15 reps, then I do a drop set with a lighter weight for another 15, and I do that twice. Moving on, the second and last tricep exercise in this routine, single arm tricep push downs with cables. I've been doing this for a few years now. Not sure why I'm standing like that. Not sure if there is an optimal position to stand in for this exercise, but it feels good. I do it for 1 set, about 1 rep in reserve, and then a drop set after that. And obviously I just repeat the same for the other side. I try to match my reps on my right arm to my left arm because it is weaker. It has always been weaker, so that my muscle imbalance isn't too extreme. Okay, second last exercise is just 1 set of these reverse flies on the cables. This is sort of a chill exercise. I'm sort of doing it just because I noticed that my rear delts are kind of small. So I started doing these at the start of the year for a few months, and I noticed that they actually grew, and especially that it showed more progress in this way than with the machine. Probably because at the end there I can like stretch and twist my body and get that much more like connection. Like I really feel it more on the cable than I do with the machine, personally. I don't really do these to failure. I wouldn't even really call it 1 rep in reserve. They're pretty chill. I just do it for around 10. Oh, and last exercise of the day, single arm cable curls, or I think some people call it Bayesian curls. Anyhow, whatever it is, I love them. I only do 1 set failure and then drop set after that. It feels really good. Probably not the best method for hypertrophy, but it gives me a really nice pump afterwards, which I know is not the main goal for hypertrophy, but it just feels really nice. If it didn't feel nice, I wouldn't do it, so it's better than nothing. I find it a really nice way to end the workout, and I've been doing it for a long time. Today is posterior explosivity and power, which is similar to my quad and power day, except focused more on producing power from the posterior chain, so hammies and glutes. I don't train calves. I leave that to cardio, to volleyball, to build. I'm also not going to film it this time, but I do the same hip mobility and core stability warm up before every leg day as well. Okay, first workout of today is hip thrusts on the Smith machine. Shout out to Shami this time for teaching me these a couple of months ago. I've also added them into my routine recently, and they feel good. Once again, trying to go slow on the way down, fast on the way up without bending my back and only using my glutes. I do 2 sets and the heaviest weight I can go for 10 reps for both of them. Still trying to experiment to figure out what that is because it's still pretty new to my routine. And then of course we are back to RDLs. This time I only do 2 sets instead of 3 or 4, whatever it said last time. And I'm going a bit lighter this time only because I just did these 2 days ago My back is sore, which is a result of core problems, a weak core issue, which I am trying to work on. But anyhow, in this particular set, it probably doesn't look very right because about halfway through I noticed that these weights on the side here were sort of sliding off, so one of the sides felt heavier than the other. Next exercise, Bulgarian split squats. I try to keep a hinge so that I'm targeting my glutes, and also try to keep these between 6 to 8 reps, so I go pretty heavy. I have tried holding like 2 dumbbells instead of 1, but I found that it's easier to balance and somehow easier to target my glutes when I'm holding 1. Not sure if it's to do with the weight distribution, but it just feels better this way. And I only do that for 2 sets as well, because these are pretty tiring. And once again, I match the reps on my left leg with my right leg, because my right leg is also stronger than my left. Okay, next up, lying leg curls. This is like the only hammy isolation exercise I do. The other option, which was seated curls, I've tried, but the one at this particular gym is really painful on my quads. Like, the padding is not soft. It's just not comfortable. And I think seated is probably better for hypertrophy, but if it's not comfortable, if it's just painful, I'm just not going to do it. Anyhow, for these, I do 1 normal set, about 1 rep in reserve, then a set to failure and a drop set after that. Up next, a back extension. For these, you can either focus on abs, your lower back, or your glutes. I choose my glutes. I try to position my feet so that they're on the edge of that board, and so that my toes are pointing outwards a little bit. I find that it helps me target it better, and it looks pretty funny because my back is hunched, but that just means I'm not using my lower back at all. It's just my glutes that's pulling it up. Maybe a little bit of hamstrings as well. I do the first set heavy to failure, and then I drop that weight and do a drop set with just my body weight. Last exercise of the day is hip abduction. I only do 1 or 2 sets, 12 reps. I put it on the highest weight. Most of the time it's pretty controlled. Don't know what was happening here. But I'm only doing this just because my physio is telling me to strengthen my abductors to support my knee. It's definitely not something, or at least definitely not the first thing I would choose for hypertrophy if I was trying to grow my glutes. Five out of 10? Today, I'm not at the gym yet, but today is quad and glutes only. Less of that power movement stuff. I'm just going for hypertrophy today, so a lot of isolation exercises. Oh, and it's Christmas today, so Merry Christmas, guys. I'm glad I go to a gym that is open 24/7. I don't think they care about public holidays, so it should be open. Okay, so for this routine, I either choose RDLs or squats to do first. Today, I chose RDLs for whatever reason, and we are back to lifting heavy because my back is no longer sore. As a side note, whenever I do the same exercises in any of these routines, I do them for the same amount of sets, same amount of reps or rep range. After that, I move on to leg press, which sometimes I skip. Low-key mainly because I'm lazy to put all the weights on and off. Anyhow, I do this for 2 or 3 sets, and I try to use the heaviest weight I can for 10 reps for every set. I've also noticed that I tend to make this face a lot when I lift, when I'm struggling. Anyhow, let me speed this up for you. Okay, and then we are back to hip thrusting, which I am still sort of new at, as I've said. So, trying to go up in weight quite drastically every time. But I seem to sort of be stuck at around 80 kilos for now, for 10 reps. All of my glute stuff is pretty repetitive. I do the same thing every time I train glutes. So next we have hyperextensions, focusing on using my glutes instead of my hamstrings or my back to get up. and followed by a body weight drop set. Then I make my way over to the leg extension machine and just hold these at a sort of light-ish weight for 30 seconds on each leg just once, because I heard it is good for your knee. And then I follow that up with normal leg extensions. I like to put my towel on the seat where the handles are so that when I go to do my drop sets, assuming my grip is starting to fail, I get to put the towel back over the handles and hold on to that. So once again, doing that for one normal set, trying to get to 12, and then a set to failure and 2 drop sets after that, also to failure. Is back, shoulders, and a little bit of arms at the end. I low-key haven't done this workout in like a month, more probably, because I've like vacations and stuff, so might be lifting a little lighter, but usually I would love this workout. Like, it's probably my favorite to do. I low-key hate legs. I just do it because I need my legs to grow. So this is better than just shoulders and arms. So okay, as for every upper body workout, I start with pull-ups as a warm-up. And then the first exercise of this routine are T-bar rows, which I used to find and still find low-key pretty awkward to do. It's a pretty awkward stance, but I think it really helped develop my back. I do 2 or 3 sets depending on how I feel on the day, and I pick a weight that will let me get about 8 reps, struggling. Alright, next, also newly incorporated this week, Kelso shrugs again. Don't mind this camera angle, I couldn't find anywhere else to put it. Still sort of struggling to find a good seat height and position for these because it really hurts my chest to lean against. But it is what it is. I'm trying to develop the middle of my back with these more because I feel like there isn't really much definition there in my traps. Okay, wow, I don't know what happened to the quality here, but next up are these single arm cable reverse delt flies, rear delt flies. Anyhow, I started doing these because the machine didn't feel good for my shoulders. Like, it wasn't very stable. So I decided to use the cable so I could use a really lightweight, set it exactly how I wanted it, and get that extra stretch at the end, extra big stretch. So at the end of it, I also rotate my body to get a larger stretch out of the movement. I only do these for 1 or 2 sets for about like 10 or 12 reps. Very slow and controlled, not really to failure, just because I wanted to develop my rear delts like at the start of this year. And I follow that up with shoulder presses, again, my only front delt movement. Followed by V-grip cable rows, which I do 1 normal set of up to 12, but I pick a weight that makes me struggle to get to 12. And then I'll do 1 set to failure and a drop set after that as well. I know a lot of these like failure drop set stuff is probably not optimal for hypertrophy or strength, but what I really like about them and about this exercise as well is that it just feels good. And if it feels good, I'm going to keep doing it. And me being consistent with it will help me make progress more than anything else. If I don't like the optimal sort of things, then I won't do them. This exercise specifically I like a lot and helped me develop my upper back more than T-bar rows, probably because I really like feeling that stretch at the end. That's why my torso kind of moves with that as well. Speaking of non-optimal shit, we are back to doing these lateral raises for 15 reps with a heavier weight and then a drop set, another 15 reps. Even though my form is absolutely diabolical, it feels good, I'll keep doing it. It's pretty much the main mid-delt like exercise that I've ever done. I've been doing for years, and so that's what's helped me grow my shoulders. Okay, usually I would say to do the bigger muscles first, but I'm gonna put this light exercise in here just to give my back a little break with those lateral raises before coming back to working it with these pullovers. I don't like to do it with the ropes because I find them unstable, so I do it with this sort of strange squiggly sort of grip. It's been working for me anyhow. I do one usual set to about 8 or 10, and then I'll do a set to failure and a drop set as well. Okay, I don't know why it's so dark here, but we are ending this workout once again with these single arm cable curls. Also, one set to failure, one drop set. I really like these guys. Gives me a really good burn. I know we're not really meant to chase a burn to build muscle, but it feels good, man. And that is my 1 week of gym workouts, guys. I'll see if I can develop and film a good track routine for you guys, but until then, thanks.